Fantasy Philosophers is brought to you by fantasy-info.com.
Welcome to Draft Board Update number 9. This update, we're going to talk about Sidney Rice's injury and its effect, Chad Schilens, his injury, and Montario Hardesty and Darren McFadden. Big news for Fantasy World. Sidney Rice has had hip surgery. This was the situation that we'd been talking about with him, that doctors had strongly suggested that he have surgery in the spring. He didn't do it. He's had aggravations. He finally had surgery. He looks like he's going to miss half the season. Bernard Berrian is definitely a fantasy option. You need to get him on your draft boards and fast. He's definitely a mid-round pick for your team right now, as I think he's going to end up being maybe the top receiver for Brett Favre this season. Even when Sidney comes back, he's still going to have to get back in playing shape, and I just don't know if he's even going to be the receiver that he was a year ago because of the recovery time. So this is big news, obviously, in that regard. Brett Favre's going to lose some fantasy value on this one. I wouldn't say he's a guy you're going to want as your starter right now. Chad Schilens, he looks like he's having knee surgery. This is very unfortunate. Looks like it's injury that was sustained trying to compensate for his foot problems that he's had since he had the injury last year in August. I really like Chaz. I held out a lot of hope for him, but unfortunately it looks like he's just a receiver that just can't stay healthy in spite of the talent that he has. So Zach Miller is probably the guy I think that's going to get the best fantasy bump because Schilens won't be around this season at tight end. And then Lewis Murphy and Darius Hayward-Bay, those are also options. I wouldn't suggest drafting either one of them, but there's an opportunity there that they might be able to make a little bit of noise at some point this season. I know Darius has had a pretty good offseason. Unfortunately, looks like he got real tired here and towards the later part of August as he's been pushing it really hard this offseason, working hard and everything. So I don't recommend that you take those guys. Montario Hardesty, Jerome Harrison has been gaining fantasy value because Hardesty has been out and not playing and practicing, but it looks like he is expected to be back this week. They're saying that it probably won't take him that many reps to get back on track to where he was before the injury. So he was having a really good camp before that, really good OTAs. His coaching staff was amped up about what he could do for their team, so we'll see how he responds. We got to see him play well in the third week of preseason. Darren McFadden should also be back. He has been missing time with a hamstring injury. This is going to be a key week for him as well. We need to see Darren get on that field week 3, and we need to see him produce well because Bush has been pretty decent in his absence, and a lot of fantasy owners, including myself, have been high on Bush as being the guy that's going to take over here and be the fantasy option that you should take. I still believe that he is the fantasy option that you should take. I just don't think Darren can stay healthy, and when he has been on the field, he just hasn't been as productive as Michael. But at the same time, if he does come out, he has a good third week of the preseason, then he's going to have fantasy value again in drafts. I'd say a late round pick for both of these running backs, and that would be Hardesty and McFadden, is a good move at this point in time.
For more fantasy football information, go to fantasy-info.com and sign up for our free e-newsletter. Good luck in your 2010 Fantasy Football League. As an added bonus, the Fantasy Info guys will include their 5 secret tips for success in fantasy football with your free subscription.